What you're seeing right there wasn't an April Fool's game made in 1 hour. This is an actual game with hours poured into it that I, as a child, thought was good enough to release. You see, when I was a little child, I wanted to make a game. However, I didn't know what a Unity was, so I decided to go to code.org. I made a new game lab project and started coding. The problem is I couldn't get it to work, so I went to the next best thing, App Lab. Coding the game went relatively smoothly, except for one thing I'll mention later. I also had to draw assets. So what software did I use to draw them? Did I go to GIMP, MS Paint, or even an online drawing app like Sketchpad? No. I used the built-in Code.org drawing application. Drawing application is extremely primitive. When I was drawing the sprites, there wasn't even an option for a color picker. What baffles me about my decision is that the drawing application is built into the game, means that I had to draw something, download it, and upload it to my game. So it's basically the same as an external graphics application. At that point, why even use it? The primitive drawing application, along with my lack of ability to draw, resulted in graphics which, well, you could see for yourself. I also had to make music for a game, so I turned to Chrome Music Lab. To my credit, the music was pretty decent. Sure, the range was extremely small, but it could be catchy at times. However, at the time, I didn't know what a WAV file was. So to export it to my app, I had one computer play the song, and I doesn't record it. This led to all the music sounding muffled. For comparison, this is what the original robot theme sounds like. And this is what the recorded one sounds like. For the gameplay, I'll be playing the non-in-game music, just so you don't question if your speakers are working. Once the game was able to turn on and not much else, I published it to code.org. I then updated for 4 more versions and left it. Is that order flow better than I remember, or even worse? There's only one way to find out. In order to play this game, you're going to need to figure out how it works. So let's click on Go to Tutorial. And so far so good, the barrel UI seems pretty decent. Let's click on Attack. And let's click on Dodge, as it's the only thing we could do. And now we have our first major problem. There. Dodge button doesn't work, means that you can't complete the tutorial. Well, I guess this tutorial is pretty good at showing you how the game works. It doesn't. After that disaster, let's play the game. So we're given some story in the form of text. If you want, you could just pause the video and read it, but I'm going to summarize it. So there's a man named John and he has a friend named Bradley. A bunch of robots invade his village and he goes off to see who sent the robots. Also, Bradley is a fire state creature and all the characters in the game are fictional creatures. Except for John, who's a normal human. The story is simple enough. The protagonist experiences a tragedy and he goes on an adventure. Typical stuff. The only real problem is that it doesn't describe what fictional stuff like couriers are, or what they look like. Other than that and the typos, it is pretty average. After that, we're given some more information about the town we're going to next. The important part to remember is that the robots go across the river by putting fire onto it. You see why that's important later. Let's go to House 1. And we're on our first battle. Both the attack and dodge buttons seem to be working. But wait, why is the dodge button working now? It wasn't working previously. You'll see why later. Anyway, when the dodge button is working, it gives you a chance to either heal or take some damage. The problem with this is that on average, you lose more health than you gain by dodging, meaning the only reason someone would use it is they were about to die and this was their only hope. Also, pay attention to the screen blob. It'll be important later. Let's defeat this robot. After we defeat the robot, we get another piece of text. Apparently, the green blob under the table was a frugal named Edward that wants to join us. Since the text doesn't say it, I'm going to tell you that Frugal is a humanoid frog creature. Since we only have enough supplies for 2 people, we need to choose between them. I choose Edward. Before we try to go across the river, let's see what's in house 2. So there is a safe, and if we investigate, we see there's 4 options. If we get the wrong option, we lose 10 HP. Considering the fact that at maximum we can lose 30 HP, which is barely anything, we should probably try to randomly guess rather than waste time solving it. But I digress. So let's go up and search for clues. Let's open up the chest and see if there's any clues. Alright, let's see if the diary has any clues. Even if you read the diary and still couldn't find any clues, I don't blame you. The clue is that the words endless dessert is in all caps. Dessert is spelled wrong, which is supposed to bring your attention towards it. And what number is associated with desserts? Pi. So let's go downstairs, open up the safe, and choose pi, aka 3.14. Let's save the potion for later. Apparently, we took the potion, but it's clearly still there. And now let's try to go across the river, and we're dead. Yeah, remember when I told you that the robots got across the river by using fire? Bradley can breathe fire. This is objectively bad game design. You should unlock more content as you play more of the game. Not be able to go to the extra content right away and be punished for playing more of the game. Going into a cave village that has also been attacked by the robots. We have the option to choose between Edward and Bradley. So let's switch to Edward now. Maybe let's try to go through the oxygenous crack first. And we're dead. But wait! Is that Bradley on his shoulders? It's almost like the game doesn't know who is our partner. You know what? Let me go inside the code and fix it.
Oh my god!
Remember when I said the coding went relatively smoothly except for one thing that I mentioned later? Yeah, as it turns out, I didn't know how to do a basic switch statement. Instead, every time you pick a character, it goes into its own instance of the game. This caused the game to take longer to code than it should have and be way buggier and convoluted. Honestly, it will be easier to rebuild the game than fix these bugs. After we replay the game, let's go to the top house. So let's click on go to bottom house. And we've defeated the robot. Let's go through the door and talk to the Sunate. Now we've got our third partner Luna. Let's switch to her. Let's see if we could go to the top house. And we can. We even have a new type of enemy. Let's beat him. Well, it appears that we can't take damage. Well, at least it's better than most of the glitches in this game. Unfortunately, the buttons aren't working, which is really unfortunate for 2 reasons. A, there's a puzzle on this floor that I put a lot of time into. And B, I have to play the game again. I told you this tutorial is an accurate description of the game. There's another option. Let's click it. I mean, it's weird that Luna's hollow now, but at least we get to continue. Wait, since when was the game using real-life graphics? You see, originally when I started working in the game, I intended for the backgrounds to use real-life photos while the characters were sprites. However, I abandoned that plan when I realized it was stupid. The game can't even keep its own terrible art style. Let's pick Luna before we go to the house. Now we're at the final boss, Ordula. This is the only area that doesn't have a piece of text before it. Anyway, let's defeat him. And we're done. It's also a really lame death screen. It just has the quickly drawn words, game over. Yes, we defeated him. And this is our congratulations. Once again, it's a quickly drawn you won. It's disappointing for the death screen, but it's even worse now. A few of you may have noticed that at the bottom of the screen was this thing called outside the fence. This is basically to provide you with what the characters are saying. You see, the characters do have personalities and backstories. Bradley is extremely egotistical, but has a lot of empathy and is willing to help, even if it is 100% for no reasons. Edward is shy and bullied for having underdeveloped arms, but strong legs. And Luna doesn't walk. Yeah, that's her personality. We even get to know what Orderlaw's motivation is. He's upset at fantasy creatures for breaking the laws of physics and wants to kill them all. I mean, the death penalty is very harsh, but the laws of physics are not supposed to be broken, so I could see where he's coming from. Unfortunately, due to the game just not knowing what partner I am with, it's very hard to learn about the characters while you play through the game. So what did I think of the game? It was terrible. The graphics, music, bad game design, and copious amount of bugs made for a truly awful experience. I haven't even gone through all of the problems, like how you have to reload every time you make a mistake, or the true extent of all of the bugs in the game. What was the point of this? Why did I make a video about a game I made at code.org all those years back? The first reason is that it's just very nice to laugh at your past mistakes. The second reason is to teach everyone a lesson. A big reason why this game turned out the way that it did is that I didn't bother to take a step back and see if the way I was doing something was really the best way to do it. I never took a step back and asked if the best way to get music from Chrome Music Lab into my game was to record from a separate device. Or I never took a step back and wondered if the best way to make sprites from a game was to draw an extremely limiting graphics application. So the lesson we could all learn from this is whenever we are working on a project, we should always take a step back and ask if the way we're doing it is really the best way. And if it's not, fix it. If I knew that from the start, maybe this game couldn't have turned out good.